just a couple of years after the railroad was finished before they ever managed to investigate where all the money went.
Not only did railways make money for the railway owners, you also show that it enabled other new industries to come into being, and the modern holiday, you argue, really was only made possible when the railways came along.
And there's all sorts of industries that emerge. The holiday is really the obvious one. People got to the seaside, or in Germany they got to spa towns, or just got away from their local area thanks to the railway. Literally millions of people would have seen the sea for the first time thanks to the railway, and a whole industry of holiday resorts and tourism grew up as a result of that. And you even get odd examples where, for example, professional football in the UK grew up pretty much because of the railways, because the players were able to travel around quickly, and of course the fans were beginning to be able to afford to travel around, and so you could get a decent enough gates for them, people to be paid professional wages. And you get all sorts of examples where, again, in both ways, of industries flourishing because of the railways, and people being able to deliver their agricultural produce much further. So milk is an obvious example. You get fresh milk coming into towns. But also you get where industries decline as a result of that, because a rival place is able to supply you with a particular good, and therefore your local business loses out because that one is more efficient. And it also leads to agglomeration, so that you tend to get the same industries near each other because the transport costs of the rest of the country are no longer so high, and it's more efficient to have all these industries with their suppliers in one place. And so you get that agglomeration effect, which is now even recognised in kind of transport calculations as beneficial.
Tell me about Pharaoh pessimism, Pharaoh pessimism. Where did that come from?
Well, I think the idea there is that the railways were going to decline, and nothing could be done about it, and all the advantages of railways were forgotten about, and all the advantages of cars were highlighted. So the idea was that railways would decline, and they did decline from the 20s onwards, but really heavily from the 50s and 60s to maybe the 80s and 90s in a lot of places. Depends what country you look at, but they did decline massively as people took to cars. And then that tide was reversed, or begins to be reversed in various places, as people realise, first of all, that in suburban places railways have enormous advantages, and it's better to take the train into the centre of town than to drive, and car parking becomes impossible, and people then have to revert back to the railways, by which time, of course, a lot of places have lost their suburban rail networks, but a lot have begin to redevelop them and improve them. And then for intercity travel, you get the high-speed trains, or at least faster trains initially, not even dedicated high-speed trains, but intercity trains like in the UK, the whole European express network, which developed in the 60s, 70s, where it was just a much more pleasant way to travel than the network of motorways that had grown up. It was just better. You can sit down and read and whatever. You're not stuck in traffic jams, and the motorways were beginning to clog up. So that Pharaoh pessimism kind of actually proved to be a mistake.
It seems the case that Europe will have a more and more developed high-speed network. It seems the case that America will probably never have a high-speed network. What about Britain?
Well, I'm slightly sceptical about whether Britain will ever have one. The trouble is that we got into this so late. I mean, there's a lot of talk about it now, but I remain to be convinced whether there really is an environmental and economic case for it, because we are a small country, and in some extent we have a high-speed railway already. You can get from London to Leeds in 2 hours. You can get to London to Manchester now in 2 hours. That's pretty good going.
I came in from Bath and it took me 90 minutes, which is about 60 miles an hour, 60 to 70 miles an hour.
Yes.
It's not high speed, is it?
Right, that's not high speed, but then they are going to electrify that line, and they should certainly speed up. And one reason why it's not high speed is an interesting one, which is not entirely cured if you had a high-speed line. Out towards the west, there aren't any really big towns, but there's quite sizable towns. So there's Reading, and Swindon and Bath and then Bristol, which is quite a big town but not an enormous town. So in the old days you used to get expresses that were non-stop from Bristol and so would do it more quickly, but now they all the trains all stop at Swindon and Bath and Didcot and some Chippenham or wherever. So it shows what a difficult business it is in a way, your experience, because it highlights the fact that people want different railways for different reasons. You'd like to get into Bath quickly, but the people from Swindon want a regular service, and that's been a problem ever since they built the Liverpool and Manchester in 1830.